Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Mac, and today we're talking about Master of the Elements yet again. Now, I know I made a video about this a couple of weeks ago, but that was during pre-patch, and given that tuning was kind of all over the place and balance was non-existent, I thought the pre-season was a great time to re-talk about it, seeming as how we have it in our current raid single-target build. I spent a decent amount of time this week testing Master of the Elements with Elemental Blast, Tempest, as well as weighing it against Molten Wrath, which is the other choice node on the Master of the Elements talent tree. And the numbers actually kind of surprised me, but before I get too deep into it, I do just want to call out that Blizzard has stated that there are going to be tuning passes on the 17th, 24th, and 2 weeks after that. So this is all up for discussion. It might change in the near future. This is as it stands right now with the current setup we have going into raid on the 17th. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. Now, when I did my testing, I was in the most neutral environment I possibly could be. I took off all of my gear. I had no stats. I had absolutely nothing. So I tried to get the most accurate values out of everything I casted. However, you can see I still do have a base amount of mastery and overload percent chances. So for some reason, Tempest took a lot longer to test because I don't understand why, but Tempest overloads a lot more frequently than the other spells in our spellbook. But I did eventually get there, and this is what I got. So this is a spreadsheet with everything that I tested, basic information pulled in between Master of the Elements, Molten Wrath, which is the other talent node, and then the over-under on Master of the Elements versus Molten Wrath. Now, Molten Wrath just gives us a 15% buff on Lava Burst, whereas Master of the Elements gives us a 15% buff on the next cast after Lava Burst, and these are the differences. You can see I have my Lava Burst default number there. I have the Ele Blast damage, which was buffed by Master of the Elements, and this is the total damage dealt by that combo, the two buttons there. Over here, we have Molten Wrath, which did a little bit more damage than the Lava Burst over here because of the 15% buff, and then the base Ele Blast, which was not buffed by Master of the Elements, and then the total damage here. And then this, like I said, is the over-under of the damage being anywhere from 700 to 1,000 extra damage per button with Master of the Elements. Now, this looks a lot better than it actually is because this is only testing when it's buffing Ele Blast. It didn't test Tempest. Here, I did not test Lightning Bolt here. So if you're only buffing Elemental Blast with your Master of the Elements, this is generally the ballpark increase in damage you can see per button hit. However, that's not realistic. There's going to be multiple times when you're going to be able to only buff Lightning Bolt, which is not going to be this significant of a difference. Honestly, it might be a little bit of a loss. But that being said, when we look at the other buttons here, like Tempest, that can change things. We can see the over-under, the base damage of a Tempest that I got was pretty much always, in no gear, 6,800 damage. Every single time I hit it, it was 6,800 damage. Assuming my damage meters are correct, that's what I got. And then with Master of the Elements buffing it, it was 7,800 damage, which is just roughly 15% more than that. So it's a pretty significant jump, about 1,000 extra damage per Tempest hit, which is pretty significant. Now, this is surprising to me because I thought Elemental Blast was going to be our biggest hitter, but it turns out Tempest was, because our Elemental Blast base damage was anywhere from 5,700 to 5,900, and it only increased it to about 7,300 or 72 to 7,300 damage, which is 500 damage lower than our Master of the Elements buffed Tempest. Now, this is all theory crafting, but as the numbers state, look right now, it seems that Tempest is the best button to hit that is buffed by Master of the Elements. And this theoretically makes a lot of sense and doesn't really hurt us as much as you might think it would be, because even if we are capped on Maelstrom, Tempest doesn't build Maelstrom. So there's no reason not to Lava Burst and then immediately Tempest after it if you got the proc. When I initially got these numbers in my testing, I immediately thought I did something wrong or that I'm missing something that makes Ele Blast actually more valuable than Tempest. But I honestly think that Tempest might be the better option for buffing with our Master of the Elements buff, because the more I thought about it, the more I realized there's no real negative to not sending it on Tempest instead of Elemental Blast. Yes, Elemental Blast gives you your buffs, your Mastery, Crit, Haste buffs, but it doesn't increase your immediate damage of that hit. And ultimately, since Tempest doesn't build Maelstrom, even if you're at full Maelstrom, there's no reason not to send a Tempest with the Master of the Elements buff instead of an Ele Blast, because if you send that Empowered Tempest, you can then immediately follow it up with an Elemental Blast, and then you're all set and good to go. I guess ultimately you could Ele Blast, or you could Lava Burst, Master the Elements, Tempest, and then get another Lava Burst to Master the Elements, Blast. But realistically speaking, I don't think that's going to be too big of a difference there. So either way, whether you're spending your Master the Elements buff on Tempest or Elemental Blast, the difference is going to be negligible. Obviously, if you can, you're probably going to want to prio Tempest. And like I said earlier, I don't know why. I got to look more into the talent tree. I must have missed something. But Tempest seems to really, really like to overload. So much more than Blast ever did. This probably took me 3 times the amount of time to get just 5 accurate Tempest readings than the Elemental Blast did, just because of the amount of overloads happening on Tempest. So Tempest is arguably probably more important to use your empowered buff with that. Anyways, that's kind of what I wanted to show you. I'll put the priority list of what to cast with the Master of the Elements buff on the screen here, where I believe it's going to be Tempest number 1 priority, Elemental Blast number 2 priority, and then number 3 final priority is Lightning Bolt. Just send it whenever you have it. Ideally, the best bang for your buck here is you're going to want to be holding at least 1 Lava Burst in the chamber, so you can always have an empowered spell ready whenever you get a Tempest proc or enough Maelstrom for Elemental Blast. So there's ways to min-max this, and I'll go into this more in detail in a later guide about Elemental Shaman when the actual patch or season starts. But as it stands right now, that's what Master of the Elements does for us. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised. I thought Tempest would be under Elemental Blast, but honestly, it's doing some pretty dang good damage. I guess that buff or change with how Tempest worked in, a couple of weeks ago, did put it in pretty high priority with any of a single target rotation. So, but anyways, that's what I have for you today. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. As always, every single one of my talents trees, my add-ons, my UI, all those links and import strings are in the description below, so you can import that into your game as whenever you want to, if you want to, or if you want to just copy my talents, easy peasy down there. And also, I have a new Discord channel where people have been jumping in. We've been talking about Elemental Shaman, so if you're interested in that, want to just join the community and talk about Elemental Shaman, the link's also in the description with all of that good stuff. So, with that being said, I have nothing else. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you next time.